Welcome back to Business AM on this 1st of July 2019. My name is Simba Elijah Charles Kiage. This is Business AM, hashtag Business AM. We are live on Twitter. You can talk to us so that we know exactly what it is that you're thinking about this first day of the fiscal year for Kenya. This is the day when all the government fiscal measures for 2019 are going to take effect. And of note is the stress of this government in supporting SMEs in the country, job creation. And remember, we are coming from the background of 840,000 jobs created in the economy in 2018-2019. So the question has to be, what are some of the factors that are supporting this jobs creation, and how do the SMEs find themselves in this number? Now remember that there's been a lot of talk about the funding of SMEs in the country, and for a long time this question has not been settled. Now remember, we're coming back from the background of the cap on interest rates of all the banks in Kenya from 2016 to date, and this, some experts are saying, is one of the reasons why SMEs have not been receiving their funds. But the question is this: is this really credible? And we want to point out on the ways in which the cap on interest rates has affected the funding of SMEs in the country. Is it really possible to point to a specific area or fact in the economy so now we can say, yes, indeed, there's been a problem somewhere? Now remember, Cabinet Secretary Henry Rotich, when he was tabling the budget for 2018-2019, said we should talk about financial inclusion, so that now the cap on interest rates talk can die, quote, a natural death. So let's ask the question: do the people who say let's repeal the cap on interest rates have a point, and do those who say let it remain have a point? Today we're going to crisscross the economy and see exactly where this point lies. Remember, we're not saying that it should be repealed or reinstated. We are saying, is it true? Now, the funding of SMEs has been an emotive issue in the country since the introduction of interest rate caps, as banks went into protest mode by limiting credit access to businesses in the country, blaming high risks. A sustained drive by the Central Bank of Kenya Governor Patrick Njoroge to have credit extended to SMEs in the country has even seen him in the past threaten to arrest bank CEOs who refuse to extend credit to qualifying SMEs. There's been suggestions from the Treasury in the past to partner with banks to assure them of principal amounts to guarantee in cases where the loans to SMEs turn out to be non-performing. And threats formed sections of parliament to pass laws to compel banks to offer 10% of their loan portfolios to SMEs. Now, the recent move by the governor of the Central Bank of Kenya, Patrick Njoroge, to introduce the Stawi product to SMEs in the country has been viewed by some economists in the country as revolutionary. On a critical look, though, does it address the basic challenges affecting SMEs in the country? Let's look at this question by looking at the top 3 challenges facing SMEs according to a World Bank report on state of SMEs in Kenya 2015. And this means me turning to the screen right behind me. All right, the first was inadequate capital, which they said was one of the main challenges that affected SMEs, and especially to starting businesses, the ones that just start. Number 2, they said the challenge was, let's just cross over to the next challenge, which was, let me just touch on this, good. Poor infrastructure was the second challenge that the World Bank report 2015 said faced some of the SMEs, or majority of the SMEs in the country. Let's just cross over to the next challenge that faced SMEs. Now, inadequate knowledge and skills, and this has been one of the factors that we've addressed here on Business every single time we have guests here. They've said, look, it's just more than that. But if you look at the top 3, therefore, inadequate knowledge and skills, especially in technology advancements around Kenya, that's one of the key challenges that faces SMEs in the country. Let's just cross over. All right, next challenge. Good. Now let's just cross over, and now that we know the challenges that SMEs in the country face, let's address the first one, the capital challenge, which has led to the introduction of the Stanbic product in 2019. So the question is, how much blame do the banks attribute to cap on interest rates? Now, the Central Bank of Kenya did a survey in 2018 asking banks to actually comment on how this cap on interest rates had affected the ability to lend to SMEs. Number one, 58% of those in the survey said 58% remains unchallenged or unchanged. Okay. Number two, increased by 8% and decreased by 34%. And this is the effect on actual new credit granted by cap on interest rates. Let's just think about this, that it remained unchanged by 58%. So 58% of those who were able to lend to SMEs during that period remained unchanged, despite the cap on interest rates. Increased by 8%, that yes, we didn't have a decrease, we did have 8% increase, and then it decreased by 34%. So when you look at it, it pretty much was at 64%, which is more than 50%, just decreased by 34%. Let's just cross over and see exactly what we, out of the survey conducted by the Central Bank of Kenya, now 46% of the respondents felt it remained unchanged, 10% felt it increased, while 44% felt it decreased. Now let's just cross over. Effect on rate capping to lending to SMEs. How did it affect lending to SMEs? Now 49% said it positively affected lending to SMEs. Now negatively affected lending to SMEs 51%. Now remember, these are you and me, the ones who run businesses. Now we came to realize that yes, it positively affected SMEs, and here this is what you can say, me and you, all right, our risks were well looked into, and then we said it remained positively affected, that by 49%. Now negatively affected, me and you run the businesses, now think that 51%, okay, of me and you run the businesses said it remained negatively affected. Good. That, on a general outlook, was the effect of cap interest rates to lending to SMEs was highly favored by banks, with only 38% of the respondents feeling it had no effect. Let's cross over and see what exactly banks were also speaking about this. Now, let's just cross over therefore. So for anybody looking to confirm whether cap rates to lending to SMEs was highly favored by banks, okay, then the only way we can look at this is the rate of performing and non-performing loans in the country, isn't it? Let's just cross over and see. Yes, this is what we have. Let's go back to the graphic. Good. Let's just go back to the graphic that we come from so we analyze it. Because now you're going to look at, but I want us to go back and look at the rate of non-performing loans in the country. Good. And I want you to throw your eyes to 2016, because that's when we started being affected. Now, in the country, just go back to the graphic. Good. Now, if you want to look at the rate, therefore, you pretty much have to look at 2006, 2007, 2008, 2009, 2010. Let's look at when we had the least number of non-performing loans in the country. And that has to be in 2011 and 2012, way before the talk about cap on interest rates was introduced in the country. Now, let's throw our eyes to 2016, non-performing loans, that even if during this time when banks were saying, look, we don't need to extend credit to SMEs in the country, 2016, yes, you still had non-performing loans in the country. Look at 2017, yes, you still had non-performing loans in the country. And in fact, the trend started going up from 2016 to 2017. You can actually see that from 2016 to 2017, if you compare that to 2015, the jump started going high. So you ask yourself the question, look, if banks were saying that we need to access our SMEs further, we need to access the people that we give credit further, we need to mitigate our risks, then the question is, why do you still have high number of non-performing loans in the economy? The common thinking is that shouldn't you, as from 2016, when the banks went into process mode, then say that during this region here, then the rate of the number of non-performing loans in the country would have been less. But we see the negative effect on that, which makes you ask the question, are those people who are saying that the cap on interest rates, therefore, is just a baby cry from banks, true? And are the bank officials lying when they're saying that the rate at which the bank loans have been performing just because of cap on interest rates has been lessening? Are they lying? That's the question that we're asking this morning. Let's just cross over, therefore, and look at if 2006, therefore, way before the conversation on cap rates was conceptualized, the economy had the largest number of non-performing loan portfolios from Kenyan banks, with an increase experienced in 2017, at a time when you would think that it would be lowest. Isn't it time that we started to ask ourselves the question, maybe there is more that meets the eye when it comes to the non-performing loans that are extended to SMEs in the country? All right, let's just cross over therefore and see another way in which that we can look at the lending of SMEs in the country. Good. Let's talk about bad loans. Then you will start to think that as from 2016, therefore, because banks were not lending to SMEs based on risk, they would pretty much analyze exactly what SMEs are giving the money and know that this is exactly how we're going to give the money to our SMEs in the country. And then say, good, you don't qualify, you qualify. Then no more thinking is that as from 2016 onwards to 2019, the number of bad loans would start to lessen. But let's look at the data. Now, 9 months, all right, to September 2018, that was 66 billion in bad loans. Think about that for a moment. It didn't